Hey guys, today is your second day on absolute value, and we're going to throw in order of operations. So we've kind of talked about order of operations already, um, but now we're going to have absolute value in there. So the absolute value problem uses the correct order to evaluate an expression. This order is called order of operations. We use the phrase, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally," or PEMDAS, to help us remember the order of operations. When you see absolute value bars, remember they are a special type of grouping symbol that must be done first, which means they are part of the parentheses. So you have to always simplify the absolute value first. So we have this PEMDAS in a way that we like to remember our grouping. So the first one is parentheses, okay, which are your regular parentheses, your brackets. You now have absolute value bars that are included in those. E represents exponents, and those are the little numbers that have a base, so they're the small ones. M and D, you are allowed to do at the same time. You can switch the order, okay? Whichever one comes first is the one you would do. Okay, so we would multiply or divide at the same time. A and S, again, you can switch the order as long as those are the only two that are left. So we would have add and subtract. So we're going to be following PEMDAS, order of operations, in order to solve some of these problems. So the first thing you want to look for is your grouping. So here we look for parentheses, brackets, or absolute value bars. Okay, so yesterday we talked about absolute value, which if we have a -5, it's just the distance from 0, and distance is always positive. So we're going to bring down everything that we're not simplifying. And then we're going to say the absolute value of -5, which means the distance from 0 to -5 is a positive 5. Okay, so now we're going to follow, okay, parentheses are done, we don't have any exponents, but can we multiply or divide? Well, yeah, we can multiply 5 times 3. So we're going to bring down what we're not simplifying. Then 5 times 3 is 15. And the last thing that we have the operation is add or subtract. We have to add. So 7 plus 15 is 22, and 22 would be your answer. Take a look at problem number 2. Here we now have an operation inside of the absolute value bars. So we have 11 minus 2. Okay, so anything that's not boxed or whatever we're simplifying, some people underline or highlight, we're going to bring down because we haven't touched that plus 15 divided by 3 yet. All we're doing is we are simplifying what's inside of the absolute value bars. It does not mean that we have taken the absolute value. So those bars continue to stay. And then you just simplify what's on the inside. 11 minus 2. 11 minus 2 is 9. Okay? And we still have to simplify this. So what is the absolute value of 9? And that's 9. So then we can bring everything else down. So here we have 9 plus 15 divided by 3. We now have to use division because we don't have any exponents. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then 9 plus 5 is 14, and that's your answer. So again, when you see absolute value bars, we first simplify what's on the inside. Okay, so we're going to write all this down. But because there's that operation, you're going to bring down the absolute value bars for the first step. The difference in problem number 1 is it was just one number. In 2 and 3, there's two numbers. So 3 minus 9 is -6. Now, the absolute value of -6 is what? It would be 6. And whenever you have a number next to your parentheses or absolute value, it means times. So now we have 5 times 6. So we don't have exponents. Can we multiply or divide? In this problem, we have two multiplies being separated by an addition. So 12 times 2 is 24. 5 times 6 is 30. And now we're just going to add or subtract. In this problem, we're adding. So 24 plus 30 is 54. Oops, sorry. So here's a couple more problems. Here on the inside of our absolute value bars, we have two operations. We're not subtracting 10 times 2 yet. That is on hold. But the first thing inside of our grouping symbol we can do is division, because division comes before addition. So here's our PEMDAS, right? Division comes before addition. So we have absolute value of what's 10 divided by 5. If you said 2, you're correct. Okay, now we still have that operation, so we're going to have to add what's inside. So we're going to bring down those absolute value bars still, and the 10 times 2, and 2 plus 7 is 9. So what's the absolute value of 9 now? The distance from 0 to 9 is 9. Then we can say minus 10 times 2. So again, we have to go by PEMDAS. We can multiply before we subtract. So 9 minus 10 times 2 is 20. And then we just subtract. So 9 minus 20 is negative 11. And we can have that negative because we have already taken the absolute value. In problem number 5, remember our absolute value bars are grouping. So we have to figure out what can we do on the inside first. We have subtraction and division. So we're going to divide. So here we have 5 squared times, got to bring down those absolute value bars, 7 minus, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So we still have that operation. So we do 5 squared minus 7 minus 2 is 5. And the absolute value of 5 is 5. So that was P, parentheses. Now we go to E, exponents, and we happen to have an exponent. And this is not 5 times 2, okay? It's 5 times itself twice. So 5 times 5 is 25. And 25 times 5, because that's the only operation we have left, is 125. In problem number 6, we now have this bar. This bar means division, but we're going to do that at the end. So we're going to simplify the top, and then we're going to simplify the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to bring that bar over. I have the absolute value plus 4, right? Because we have to simplify what's on the inside. And negative 8 times 7 is negative 56. Okay, and then I'm just going to bring down my bar because we're going to take the absolute value now of 56, negative 56, which is a positive 56 plus 4. Okay, we're not completely simplified, so we got to keep going. And 56 plus 4 is 60. Okay, so we just simplified the top. We have not even looked at the bottom yet. Now if we look at the bottom, we have this is just a normal order of operations problem. So we have parentheses. Okay, so we have to do 1 plus 1, which is 2. And then you have an exponent. So you're not going to multiply first, you're going to do the exponent. So what's 2 times 2? I hope you said 4. And okay, we're almost there, so 3 times 4 is 12. If you have a fraction, we need to simplify it. So you can figure out if 12 goes into 60 evenly, or you can divide. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you that this one goes in evenly to 5. So in your calculator, you would say 60 divided by 12, and it would give you 5. A couple more. So right here we have number 7. And again, it's one of those bars. So let's break it down with top and bottom. So I'm just going to do this because I know we're going to need it. On the top, we have parentheses. No absolute value bars, just parentheses. So we have 10 minus 8, and 10 minus 8 is 2. Okay, and we're going to bring over the times 2. And then we have 2 times 2 is 4. The top is now completely simplified. On the bottom, we have absolute value bars. So we have 8 plus whatever the absolute value is. And the absolute value of 2 squared is 4. Now what we could do is we can go ahead and take the absolute value of 4, which we would say 8 plus 4 times 3. Okay, and now we would do multiplication, because remember we're following PEMDAS. Okay, and 4 times 3 is 12. And since we don't have anything left to simplify in the top, we're just going to bring that 4 over. And then 8 plus 12 is 20. Okay, since our smaller number's on the top, this means we're going to have a fraction as an answer. So we can divide this by 4. So 4 goes into 4 one time, and 4 goes into 20 5 times. So 1/5 is your answer. Last but not least, number 8. Again, we have that fraction. So we're just going to simplify. Let's start with the top. Okay, these are parentheses, not absolute value. So what this means is we multiply -5 times -5. And -5 times -5 is positive 25. Okay, so we're going to say plus 12 divided by 6, and we're going to keep going. We have division, so we would say 25 plus 12 divided by 6 is 2, and then 25 plus 2 is 27. On the bottom, we still have those absolute value bars because we haven't simplified anything inside. So 5 minus 8 is -3. And the absolute value of -3 is a positive 3, which we can just move over here. So we have to see if this goes in evenly. I always check with my calculator typing in 27 divided by 3. And what you will notice is it does give you a whole number 9. And so that's your answer. What I want you to do now is try your in-class practice. It's a whopping 8 problems. Show your teacher so they can check it to make sure you're doing it correct, and then take your quiz and go ahead and move on. Have a great rest of your day.